about Fired Up? This is Tommy Wildfire Rich coming to you live. You're listening to my man, Duke Loves Wrestling.
Welcome back. Welcome back to Duke Loves Wrestling, the show about pro wrestling and everything else.
I don't feel welcome.
What?
I don't feel welcome here.
Did you use the hand sanitizer before you
hand
touched
sanitizer.
Anything in this place?
Hand sanitizer.
Because you had that cold for a
No,
while.
you know what?
There.
I had a cold, right?
Yeah.
And so I just been soaking my hands in a meat broth just to feed the germs.
Oh.
So when I came in here, I could get you sick.
That is disgusting.
It's the way it is.
What's wrong with you?
I'm sitting here. There's something very wrong with me. I don't know what I did to deserve
What is this, Casual Fridays? What you got going on here today?
Don't you worry about me.
You're
I
all over
I got
the
a
place.
hoodie on. I'm relaxed.
Jesus.
I'm just trying to make it through.
You know,
I'm just trying to eke out a living
you've been
here.
phoning it in for a while there, pal. Let me
Boy,
tell
yeah,
you.
you're going to get the Telegraph treatment if you don't watch it.
Listen, where's the snow? I mean, folks,
There was snow today.
We're in sunny Boston, Massachusetts, and I'm going to tell you right now, we have not had a snowstorm yet.
Well, earlier today, I was in a meeting at work, and we have big glass windows looking out. I'm in the meeting, and I look out, and it's snowing, like it's legit snowing. Wow, it's really snow. Like it's gray. It's got the look. 10 minutes later, look up again, it's sunny out.
Tease. It was a tease.
What the hell's going on here?
It's a tease. That's what happened.
You know what it is? That hoax of global warming.
Well, I know. It's a hoax. It's not true. According to the alleged president of the United States, global warming is just something made up by China.
Maybe we could just build a wall to keep the sun's rays out.
Speaking of that.
Oh, Jesus.
So what are we, in day 20 of the American government being shut down?
It's right behind you on the television. It's been 19 days, 20 hours, 6 minutes, 40 seconds.
Unbelievable.
And the clock and the world, as the world turns.
What do you make of this, Boston bad boy? I mean, he shut down the entire, well, what is it, 30% of the government shut down?
Well, you know what he did? And as we've learned from every 90s movie, it doesn't ever work, right? He took hostages and expects to negotiate with the United States of America. And as Harrison Ford said, we don't negotiate with terrorists.
What movie was that? Clear and Present Danger? What was that? Patriot Games? What was that?
Air Force One, maybe?
Yeah.
One of them.
One of them.
They're rather interchangeable.
Sure.
But the point is, the culture of America, in a way, or one aspect of the culture of America, is that we don't negotiate with terrorists. That's one thing I feel like black, white, gay, straight, religious, not, like, you know what?
We can agree on that much.
We can agree on, you know what? Don't let someone leverage you with someone else's lives. And that's literally what's happening here.
Well, it's scary because it's as if they don't realize how government works.
Well, they don't know how government works.
Yeah.
They don't know.
For instance, you have all these folks who are on what we call SNAP, food stamps, what have you, right?
Mm-hmm.
They get these benefits.
Sure.
Food.
Yeah. You know what the benefit is? You get to eat. You don't starve to death.
Yeah.
There's your
you can at least
benefit, by
stay
the way.
alive for a little while longer, right?
Right.
So there's a finite amount of money in that funding. If it doesn't get re-upped, it's going to run out at least the end of February.
And that's if it's status quo, right?
If it's status quo. So what's happening now is all these folks who can't work right now, they're putting in to receive these benefits. Which
Where's that money coming
from?
from?
It's going to deplete the funding even sooner.
Wow.
So now you got people who can't eat. And on top of that, you have the poor people who government's helping them with their rent. Right? You got millions of people.
I just don't, from a political standpoint, I don't see how you win this.
You don't.
I don't care what side you're on. Whoever pulls this, you don't get out of it.
No.
How do you get out of it?
You don't.
He brought candy.
Yeah, that's right.
He brought candy.
He gave candy to everybody.
They ate his candy.
Yes.
And they told him no. But she ate the candy. They ate his candy. And she took the Werther's original.
Yeah.
That he put on the desk, right?
Yeah.
And Nancy Pelosi.
I love these. Yeah.
I love these. Yeah. And she said, "Oh, by the way, there's no wall happening, Mr. President."
That's right.
And he said,
"Slam the desk." He slammed the desk.
He knew he was going to do that.
Yeah.
It's the only impotent move he can make. Like the show. His whole alleged presidency is a show.
Yeah.
This is also a show, but he is getting to the point now, seriously, where he's directly affecting people's lives.
It's scary.
The federal government, the presidency, not often interacts on such a direct level with people, right? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong.
No, it's true. It's true.
Those decisions are very broad policy decisions for the most part.
The trickle-down effect is pretty...
I mean, other than like ordering people to war,
yeah,
where they're going to potentially die.
Yeah.
the average citizen, non-military.
You don't feel the president too much.
Exactly.
No.
However, when this dingleberry decides, I'm going to take hostage, tell me another reason why he's doing this. This is literally a hostage move.
He wants to be the Vince McMahon of life and Mr. McMahon character, the biggest heel ever.
All right,
That's what he wants.
So here we are. You and I work for Vince McMahon. Vince insists on this storyline. We're there. The last Monday Night Raw, here we are. We're there. We're in this situation. How the F do you write yourself out of it?
Jeez.
There's no way out. I couldn't even fictionally write the way out of it.
Yeah, this is a tough one. It's a tough one.
Does he... He's not going to resign.
Nope.
He wants to be president for life.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't have any real grasp of what he's supposed to be doing because all he's playing to is the base. He doesn't get at all what the presidency is. Like, okay, well, once you're supposed... And because he thinks that if I speak for everybody, if I embrace other people that I don't like or don't agree with, I'm somehow weak.
Sure.
So I'm just going to keep having these rallies and whatever the F he's doing. But how do you write your way out of it?
You don't. You know how this ends? People are going to protest and raise so much hell that all of Congress are going to essentially band together on one side and shut this down.
Do you think that McConnell and those guys will actually do it?
I don't think they're going to have a choice. I think you're talking about food and shelter.
Right.
Okay? And I don't care what anybody thinks about. I don't care what your politics are.
Life, liberty.
Yeah.
And you're talking about life.
Yeah.
That's the first thing.
Bingo.
Right? That's the first thing on the list.
Yeah. You start taking away people's ability to eat, people's ability to live, I don't know. That's getting kind of touchy there.
Yeah. All right, so Congress, let's say by some miracle, they say, okay, we're going to take control. Because, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, our three branches of government are meant to be equal partners in this whole thing.
Sure.
The judiciary is activated in a different way. Congress controls the money. Congress is the more direct representation.
Mm-hmm.
In theory, they were always supposed to have had the most amount of power, really. And the other two acting as a guidelines for them.
Sure.
That's how I've always seen it in my learnings of history. If they come together and they write him out of the equation, because they can, it's designed that way, just for such an occasion. What then?
Oh, we get a new president.
They've neutered him.
Yeah, well, you impeach the guy and with the investigation.
But I mean, what does that do for one political party in this country? It's total implosion.
Sure.
Now, I think they could save face because people have short memories. If they decided to do a heel turn and say, you know what, we need to truly be bipartisan. We need to open the government, and then we'll work on our policy differences later. Some people are going to have to fall. Some people are going to have to pay the price.
Sure.
Some people are going to fall on the sword here. But you know what? As the extreme right are happy to say, the blood of the tree of liberty must be refreshed with the blood of patriots, and this is, I think, political blood. That there needs to be a full enema of the Republican Party, and those people, and there are people who are moderate, who can have policy differences or economic disagreements on theory without being hyper-partisan. So if that happens, if Congress decides to unite and usurp the president, it's the end of the political sphere as you and I know it in our lifetimes.
We just created something entirely different now. We're more like other nations than ever before.
And I think maybe we should be. Because the president, Trump is the culmination of treating the presidency as a popularity contest.
Sure.
Probably too much power for too long. I don't think George Washington wanted that. I don't think that the founding fathers wanted the president to be the icon.
They didn't want him to be a king. That's why they never made him king.
Right? He's an executive.
Sure.
The guy that manages the business end of the, you know what I mean?
But not untouchable.
Not untouchable.
The board of directors, a.k.a., Congress, we can get rid of this guy.
I mean, think about this. Any corporation, nonprofit, the board. The president usually doesn't even have a vote.
No, it's the board.
And in government, it's sort of the same way. The president doesn't have a say in that directly. But his job is to say, well, I'm going to call a meeting, and you guys figure it out, and then whatever. My executive says, yep, that was done properly, but it was negotiated, and then I go. I mean, you're going to see it. I don't think they'll do it. I don't think they'll have a spine to come together.
I don't think the American populace is going to allow the government to stay shut down for much longer because, again, people are going without paychecks.
Right.
They're going without food, going without shelter.
The Coast Guard is underfunded.
Yeah, it's going to be a problem.
I mean, talk about ridiculous.
Yeah.
Build a wall to keep out heroin and drugs. Shut down the Coast Guard.
Yeah.
Who's going to prevent just driving a boat? I mean, I don't know the statistic, but I would put some money on more drugs come in via the coast than come over a wall, a land border.
Yeah, I mean, and not only that, you can dig a tunnel under a wall. I mean, give me a break. It's a bunch of nonsense and especially our international listeners. I know you enjoy hearing about some of this stuff because Trump is a WWE Hall of Famer. And, we say it in tongue in cheek, but there's a part of me that really believes this. This guy is doing things as if he's a pro wrestling heel, and he thinks it's funny.
Well, yeah.
You know what I mean?
He really does think it's funny.
It's a performance.
He really does think. He really doesn't. He's never had to face consequences for anything in his life. Could you imagine that? He's never had to go without food. He's never to say, "Oh, I can only put $4 in my gas tank today."
Yep.
He's never. You know what I mean?
I'm not going to get. He said I can relate to people not getting a paycheck. How?
Because he's not giving people paychecks.
Yeah. Well, that's
how he
relates. Yeah.
Right? How? That's insanity.
It's a ridiculous thing to say.
It's insanity.
It's embarrassing. It really is.
And I think the only thing he can do is keep doubling down.
Yep.
There is no other way out.
Yep.
Could he pull a face turn?
No. There's no face turn. Even if he says, "All right, I give up," it doesn't matter.
No.
The damage is done. You killed the town, as we say in wrestling. Right.
Right.
People aren't going to come back and watch your show anymore. Right. We're done. They're going to move on to something else. So.
And you notice, we said there. You look at the surrounding things, right? Surrounding there are certain signs when things are happening. There are certain signs that you see. His children have disappeared from the spotlight.
Yep.
So it's bad.
Yeah, he's on his own. Yeah.
His wife.
Yep.
She gave him one last, and she's cut him loose. He's Christmas by himself. You know what I mean?
He's standing alone. Yeah.
Just him and the guys with the machine guns.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a danger, I think, of him really losing his faculties.
Sure. I think he never had them. So,
but I mean, really, if he had them, losing them.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
You couldn't write this in any kind of
and I don't understand. I don't understand how people are still sticking with him. They're going to go over the cliff with this guy.
Well,
the true believers are going to go over the cliff with this guy.
Too far to turn back now, and those are the same people who are going to be affected by this stuff the most.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely, because who are the biggest receiver of benefits?
I know. Well,
who are the biggest receiver of benefits?
And you know who you are. So don't even try to play that game. Especially, unfortunately, there are a lot of older wrestlers who, for one reason or another, are absolutely receiving those benefits. Rental assistance and food stamps and things of that nature. But it is what it is. I hope things turn around soon, but I got to tell you, one way or another, the system will correct itself. It has to.
Well, and let's hope we survive it.
Well, that's the tough part. Sure.
So here's the thing. I think he knows he's all but guaranteed the Republicans' worst nightmare. President Pelosi. I'll take all the credit for that, by the way.
Stop it right now.
Because people say, "Are you related to Nancy Pelosi?"
Yeah.
And I'd say, I don't think so. I don't think so. But if she president, I'm all in.
President of the fools.
We're first cousins if we're president.
Listen, we got the line blinking right now. I think that is the young professor.
What's going on, Duke? How are you, man?
Another day in paradise, my man. How are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
Listen, I have the Boston bad boy on the line with us. He still has a little bit of a cough, so if you get sick, you can blame him for that.
Well, that's why we get the professor here. Maybe some medical advice. I don't know.
That's a bit outside my scope of practice.
You just suggest something. It doesn't. I don't really care at this point. If you kill me, you know what? That's the way it goes.
I'm not trying to get sued, man. So you're on your own with this one.
Now tell us, how did you get that moniker, the young professor? Because that's a pretty interesting tagline there.
Well, it's a very lame story. I gave it to myself, if I'm being honest with you.
It's funny. Duke did the same thing.
Yeah.
Stop it. Stop it.
It's about the lamest thing you can do. But I became a college professor at the age of 25. So I figured I could use a few more years out of calling myself young, and it was easier to remember than my real name, which is Matt Graifer. I was doing it for trivia, actually. That's where the gimmick initially came from. But Matt didn't really seem very memorable. But the young professor, was something that people kind of clung to, and it started helping me grow my shows in the Central Florida area.
I haven't done enough with my life.
Clearly not.
Because I'm no longer young, and I'm certainly not a professor.
And you don't have anything to do with trivia.
Well, I deal with you, but that's more trivial than trivia.
Stop it right now. Well, you brought it up, Matt. You said you have a trivia company, or you work with a trivia company. Tell us about that.
I do. I'm actually an area manager for a national trivia company called Challenge Entertainment, and I manage the Central Florida area from southern Volusia County, right under Daytona, all the way up to Jacksonville. And I've been hosting trivia for about 3 years now.
Wow. So let me ask you a question. Since you are like the trivia host guy, why haven't you been on Jeopardy? I mean, you obviously know all the answers. So what's the problem here?
Their tastes are a bit more highbrow than mine. I'll stick to the bar trivia. That's a bit more my theme.
It's a man who knows his own limits.
The only trivia in a bar that I've ever been any good at was, what beer do you want?
There it is.
And that's the question that I can always have an answer.
You know, I'm one of those guys that
answer.
I'm one of those guys that tells a bartender, "Give me your best drink."
You're one of those people. You put it on them.
I do.
That's an idiotic thing.
And you know what a bartender did for me one time? She poured me a Bud Light.
She should have threw it right in your face.
I was very upset.
That's what I would have
about
done.
Matt, I want you to sue that bartender. I mean, you're a professor, so I'm sure you can have ways to get things done. I want you to sue that bartender that poured me a Bud Light when I said, "Make me your best drink."
You know, maybe they're from St. Louis. That's a very subjective question that you asked there.
So I thought I'm going to, as Duke is going to talk to you about his whole agenda that he wants to talk about, I'm going to pepper the audience, and by that I mean the two of you, with some idiotic trivia questions. And just as we go on, we'll just see how it goes. I know that Duke will lose. Even if the professor doesn't get them right, Duke will always be a loser.
Considering that you're the one talking, I'm sure it's going to be idiotic.
All right, I'm going to do the first one before we get into our next point. All right, are you ready, young professor?
So do we buzz in? How's this going to work?
I'm going to give you preference over answering.
Oh, great.
Because I don't like Duke. You have first go because you're the guest. All right? Here we go.
Very well.
What is the most widely eaten fish in the world? Young professor, what do you got?
Tuna.
Young
I'm going to say tuna.
Young professor's tuna. Duke.
Clearly, it's salmon.
You're both wrong. It is the herring.
The herring?
The herring.
Do they call it something else?
No, it's called herring.
Oh.
All right. Anyway, thank you.
Well,
That's question number one. We've learned something already today.
Well, now that this guy's wasted everyone's time, let's. This is a pro wrestling podcast, so we got to talk something about wrestling here. You are the voice of Go Wrestle, which is down there in Florida. Tell us about the promotion and what your role is with them.
So Go Wrestle is actually a training dojo outside of Daytona Beach, Florida. That's where they operate from, and I have been their ring announcer for an entire year now. And I also do some of their color commentary more recently. But it's a great promotion. We run shows weekly every Friday night, 8 o'clock, right in the heart of Daytona Beach, Florida. It's a great, fun show. It's obviously right here in the hotbed of professional wrestling. We're right near Orlando. We're in the midst of everything that's happening, so we get a lot of great talent that comes through, and it's a really fun spot to check out some pro wrestling on Friday night.
That's pretty awesome. That's pretty. And you said that you're doing ring announcing and you're doing color commentary. Tell the audience, from the professional's perspective, what is the difference between the two?
It's night and day. I mean, both are speaking roles, obviously, but that's about where the similarities end. The ring announcer has more of a hosting type role, and they certainly have a major impact, I think, on the live experience for the fans that are in attendance. The ring announcer has a lot to do with kind of generating the type of mood and setting the tone for the kind of show that you're going to have, and certainly getting the crowd excited for the entrances of the wrestlers that are going to be coming out through that curtain. On the other side of it, when it comes to commentary, that's a lot more of being a viewer engaged that's going to be outside of things. So whether you're doing play-by-play and kind of giving some reference as to the moves and the action that's being performed in the ring, or providing a little bit of backstory, some character development from the wrestlers, a little bit more about them, or some of the ongoing storylines of the product. So It's fun. I enjoy both, but they both have their own unique challenges from a professional standpoint.
You know, when it comes to ring announcing, I always notice that you have to announce the name of the person coming out, where they're from, sometimes the height and the weight. Do you have to memorize all that content, or are you using cards?
Man, I know some people. I watch on TV a lot, especially since I started doing it. I think some of the people are able to memorize it, but I find that pretty difficult. I actually keep a very small notepad in my pocket that I can write all the stats down, and I can actually fold it in half and have it sit in the palm of my hand. So it's not really visible to the crowd. I'm clearly looking at something, but it's a little bit more subtle, and I think has more of a professional appearance. I wish I could be good enough to say I memorize all of them, but with the talent changing and the roster changing every week, it gets a little challenging to do that.
Well, it's funny. It's like I'm most impressed by hockey announcers because hockey is such a fast game, and they're always, so and so, because they know every position just by the number. Guys with helmets on, you don't even have the benefit of seeing the face. I think no one will behoove you a little help there on that on having a scratch sheet.
Well, I will, because you really need to step your game up there.
Oh, boy, here we go.
You're a professor, and you're supposed to be a professional ring announcer. You need to memorize everything. I don't care if you can't pronounce the names.
I think that's more important, is pronouncing their names.
Exactly.
My job is to get these guys over one way or the other, and I think a lot of that has to do with how they are presented. I want them to sound, if they're a babyface, I want them to sound exciting and big and fan-friendly. If they're a heel, I want them to sound dastardly and angry and mean, and kind of tip the crowd in the direction of where they should be going in terms of who they're going to cheer and who they're going to boo.
So, we recently lost Mean Gene, the master of the game, as it were, at least in my opinion. I assume you have your influences, and they're probably varied, but what's your takeaway from the professional guys? What's your takeaway from that stuff that you see on TV? Because it is a smaller operation, you don't have to go completely overboard, but what are the main takeaways for someone at your level doing it on the community sort of level, and what's the best thing to take away from those pros?
I think it's just a lot of really listening to the nuances, listening to the inflection in their voices, the way that they move up and move down, where they put their pauses. I've even started really kind of paying more attention to how they move. And some of them are very stoic, others move a little more. I'm a guy from New Jersey, so I talk a lot with my hands. And I've trimmed that down a little bit. I don't want any Rick Bobby hands up as I'm announcing the wrestlers. But I think it's just a matter of paying attention. I don't treat what I do. I don't care how many fans are in the crowd. I treat it as if I am standing smack dab in the middle of Madison Square Garden, and I think that is what it has given me a platform to continue to do this and get some more opportunities to work with other promotions this past year.
Speaking of that, you last year also announced for an arena football team down there. Tell us about that experience, because that is not pro wrestling.
It is not, but it's more opportunity for practice when it comes to working in front of a crowd and providing that kind of live experience, which is where I feel like my skill set is. I tell my wife all the time when I'm at home, don't ask me to fix anything. I'm not that guy. But if you need me to talk to somebody, that's where you want to put me in, Coach. But I worked with the National Arena League football team, the Jacksonville Sharks. I essentially called them out of the blue last year. They were looking for some help for interns in other areas. And I said to them, here's what I do. I host trivia. I'm a professional wrestling announcer. I'm not sure if you're looking for anyone to serve in a capacity where you might commentary, but I would certainly like to throw my hat into the ring. And they brought me out, and I happen to have a few videos from my wrestling experience, and I sounded pretty good. And they made me their on-field master ceremony. So all the promotional stuff in between commercials, running their trivia in between quarters, that sort of thing, just running out in front of a crowd of between 7,000 and 9,000 people every Saturday. It was pretty thrilling.
That's crazy. And I mean, again, that's a totally different experience from pro wrestling. Now, you also dipped your toe in the boxing game. This guy commentated 75 boxing matches.
Wow.
Can you imagine that? And that happened all in one day, right?
It was over a 3-day weekend, as a matter of fact. It was announcing. So I announced. So if you do the math, that's 150 fighters that I announced, and that's just the intros plus 75 winners, and then any other announcements in between. It was a favor for a friend of my father's. They were in the Marine Corps together, but he's a big boxing coach out in Putnam County, Florida. But they were hosting a Florida State Championships for the Police Athletic League. And I told him I would like to do it, and he brought me out, and they had fighters from all over the place, including some out of state. I thought I was just going to have maybe, 20, 30 fights, but there were 2 rings. They were going all weekend long in the tournament, 3-minute, 4-minute rounds. And so I certainly got some reps in and called 75 different boxing bouts that weekend. What a whirlwind, man.
That's a lot of talking that you're doing. You're a professor. You have the Trvia company. You're doing pro wrestling, arena football, boxing. What are you doing in order to preserve your voice? Because this is something that we really haven't touched upon enough on this show. Your voice is really your moneymaker there. So just like a hand model, they get their manicures and they get their special lotions and things like that.
Duke knows a lot about special lotions. I'll just put that out there. It's very disturbing.
Listen, I do. I have a collection. Shout out to Birchbox and the crew there. But what are you doing to preserve your voice and to keep it where it needs to be its healthiest?
I wish I had a good answer for you, Duke. I just do what I do, and that's really the long and short of it. I try not to yell much during the week. So if my kids are acting out, I try to compose myself so I don't blow my vocal cords before the weekend when I'm really but it's just, fortunately for me, it is an asset that I have that I've been blessed with, and I just try not to screw that up. So I wish I had some honey or some hot tea or something like that to tell you, but I do not.
Duke likes the hard candies like an 85-year-old man. That's what he does.
I do.
Doesn't help his voice at all, though. He's just an old man.
Stay out of this.
A question, going back to the wrestling thing, because the commentators are such a big part of the whole show. How much information do you have going into it about what the setup is going to be and, the length of time that they're trying to hit, and in order to build, or are you just are you going by the seat of your pants a lot, following along in real time like the audience, or how much insight do you have to sort of where we're going to end up?
Well, I don't know how much I want to break kayfabe here, but I can tell you that for us right now, the way we produce our commentary is not done live, it is done in post. So we record it immediately after the show. So I've literally already seen everything that's happened.
Oh, that's
so
cool.
I have, my process is informed, but I don't want to tip my hand as I'm trying to call it as I see it as I watch the playback.
Right.
That's interesting.
I mean, because there's a whole other level, I think, to it when you're, the guys at the big level are in an arena calling it live. But we also know that in the WWE, for instance, it's very controlled from the back room. Vince McMahon's sitting there with a headset on, directing the guys sitting at the desk, and because he's coordinating the whole thing. So I was just curious on just, is that a universal thing, or how that works, as far as how much you go. But if you're doing it in post, it gives you a chance almost to see it twice and get your commentary to where you want it to be.
Yeah, for me so far, it's been all freestyle. I get a few major, but I kind of go back and I'll talk to the booker and I'll say, all right, so what are we doing? What are some of the major beats I need to know? What are some things you want me to put over?
Mm-hmm.
And we kind of figure those things out, and then I just go out there and do what I need to do. And fortunately, I've not really gotten myself into any trouble in the last year. Every show I've done probably about 30 shows now over the course of that time. So, there's hiccups here and there, but I pretty much, as someone that speaks all the time, and I teach college classes, I teach for 5 hours straight, Monday through Thursday. I'm pretty good on my feet. I can fill time. And so we're able to kind of work it that way. Honestly, if you had an earpiece in and were talking to me and feeding me lines, I don't even know how I'd be able to handle that at this point. Yeah,
that's a difficult skill, I think, no matter what. So curious also, you're a professor. Is it art history, British literature? Where are we at?
It's actually more of a related field to this world of wrestling. In fact, I've been teaching lessons and incorporating wrestling in for the last 7 years as I've been doing it. But I teach a sports medicine and fitness technology program, which is really a fancy term for exercise science.
Because I got this frozen shoulder thing that maybe you could just give me a few
pointers. He's not going to help you with that. No? Stop it. Stop it. Jesus. He's always looking for a freebie here.
That's all I got for you.
Yeah.
Well, how does the wrestling jump into that? I mean, obviously, and you know, fitness is the paramount thing with wrestling from a safety aspect for these wrestlers going out there. Never mind just an entertainment aspect. How does that tie into your lessons, I guess?
For me, I see everything as entertainment. I always have because, you know, as I mentioned, I teach at a university where we deliver our courses in a more unique style. It's 1 month at a time, one course at a time. So I'm literally in the same subject area for an entire month, and I'm teaching students for 5 hours a day. That's a long stretch of time. So the key to maintaining their attention so that they can actually retain information is you've got to be entertaining. It has to be somewhat of a show so that they're actually going to listen to what you have to say and they can maybe get something out of it. So for me, I always kind of lean on the things that have always interested me, and I think professional wrestling is a tremendous resource for this field because, you know, one thing that people would say to me, especially being a college professor, and when I talk about how much of a fan of wrestling I am, they'll say, oh, well, you know, it's fake, right? And, of course, nobody in wrestling really likes that line. But I'm like, no, you know what? I've got 2 degrees. I had no idea you're telling me something new here. But my retort to them is I'm like, these guys are world-class athletes. There is so much talent. There is so much athleticism that's required. There's no off-season. The way they have to maintain their training, the way that they have to essentially stay in good shape and not get injured in order to continue to earn that paycheck and stay relevant. It's so important. And so for us teaching the science, it's a great area to look at when it comes to injuries, when it comes to strength training and conditioning. It's the perfect example for all of those things.
That's well said. Now, you just linked up with Elijah Burke, and you have something special coming up this weekend, don't you?
So this Saturday night, I'm making my debut in Jacksonville as a professional wrestling announcer. Elijah Burke actually has a charity in Jacksonville called the Love Alive Charity, and it's aimed at helping the homeless people in Jacksonville. So clothing, food, and they're going to be out there feeding the homeless on Saturday morning. And then Saturday night, January the 12th at 7 p.m., we're going to be having a full-blown charity event. Elijah Burke's going to be there. Headbanger Thrasher is going to be there. We've got a whole lot of talent, some of the best talent in Florida, and Fighting Evolution Wrestling, FEW out of Miami. They're going to be a promotion that's coming up to being a part of it.
That's awesome. That's awesome, folks. You can head over to FEW's website and also on their Facebook to get more information on tickets and what have you. But, you know, those guys, they've been around for a couple of years now doing some good things. I know my man Teddy Long is involved with those guys, so it's pretty cool. Young Professor, if fans want to get in touch with you, and more importantly, if bookers want to get in touch with you, whether it be for football, pro wrestling, boxing, even MMA, I'm sure you can venture off into mixed martial arts as well. What's the best way that folks can get in touch with you?
My Facebook page is a great resource. I'm at The Young Professor on Facebook. You can email me at theyoungprofessormg@gmail.com. And my Twitter handle is Young Professor G, and Instagram, MG The Young Professor.
Professor, one more question before we let you go. All right, here it is. This is the final trivia question of the night. Again, you get first priority. What spot once registered 134 degrees, the highest temperature ever recorded in the U.S.? Where was it?
Your mother's pants when I showed up last night?
Wow. Very close, but not quite. Duke, do you have an answer?
I'm completely blown away by that response. I don't have a clue.
He turned heel real quick, didn't he?
He really did. And wow. I didn't know he had it in.
I had to cut a promo on the Boston fans. I can't come up on the show without it.
Well, my mother's dead, so I don't know how you feel about that.
Now you feel bad, don't you?
Yeah.
No, that just makes it a little more weird.
Is that Phoenix, Arizona or something like that?
Death Valley.
Oh, Death Valley.
That's where
The Undertaker's from.
Exactly.
That's right.
Exactly right.
That's right. His name is the Young Professor. Just so you know, he can go both ways, folks. He can be the entertaining good guy, and he can also be the heel.
As we just found out.
Thank you guys so much. Appreciate the time. Love being here on Duke Loves Wrestling. Thanks, fellas.
Wow, he really set you straight, huh?
I don't think the professor's going to earn tenure here on the on the Duke Loves Wrestling program with an attitude like that.
I because he is kind of a spicy guy at times, but boy, he let you know what's up. I like that.
I didn't like it.
I like that. Shout out to the Young Professor. That was awesome. That's right.
He's no nutty professor.
No, and hopefully he never will be. You know what's interesting though?
What's that?
I got to bring this up because this literally is a top story in pro wrestling. A young lady by the name of Priscilla Kelly. She's a young wrestler. I think she's only about 21 years old, to be honest with you. Interesting kid. She did a spot at a show, and it really has driven the wrestling world wild. So I know you haven't been paying attention to this too
I don't
much.
pay attention to anything in the wrestling world.
All right, so let me explain it to you. She's at an event for this company.
All right.
Which is known for being an adult-themed company. Right? So much so that they don't even wrestle in a ring. They fight like in a bar situation where you do your thing.
The Coyote Ugly of wrestling.
Yeah, exactly. Coyote Ugly of wrestling. Just a bunch of weird stuff. But it's a 21-plus event because there's alcohol and there's adult themes and things
There's
of that
breasts
nature.
being shown.
Well, it just, even the humor is kind of
A bit
lowbrow.
themed. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Lowbrow.
So she has her opponent sitting on a chair. She's beating her up. And then she turns and she puts her hand in her own tights. And she pulls out
Oh, God, don't even say it.
a tampon
Oh, my God.
with like red dye on it. But you know what it's implied there.
That is
And then
horrifying.
she takes it and she sticks it in her opponent's mouth. That's the spot. Now, some fan who was there was recording it on his phone. And then he put it online and went viral. I think Fox News is even talking about this thing. It's gone viral. It's pretty disgusting, right?
Pretty disgusting. I can't even talk.
We can all agree that
dry
it's pretty
heaving over
disgusting.
here.
It's disgusting. There's no two ways about it, right?
Listen, I just want to clarify that women go through women things, and that's fine. This spot is disgusting.
It's disgusting. It's disgusting.
I have no problem with women dealing with what they deal with.
Sure, but that was disgusting. Here's my problem. The amount of people online, especially men, wrestlers and fans and everybody, she's killing the business. I can't believe she did that. She just set women's wrestling back for years. How dare she? This is the most disgusting thing I've ever seen in this. And I'm sitting there. Now listen, Boston bad boy. I've been watching pro wrestling my entire life, okay? Ric Flair has bled in every country, in every state, all over the damn world, right? Ric Flair, he bleeds everywhere. Right? The WWE had the Kiss My Ass Club when literally Vince McMahon's employees had to kiss his ass on TV. He pulled his pants down.
I know you were insanely jealous because you weren't invited.
There's a guy by the name of Joey Ryan who's a pretty popular indie guy right now.
Uh-huh.
He takes a lollipop out of his pants, simulating that it's in his backside, and sticks it in his opponent's mouth.
So is she just playing on that?
Well, she's doing something that's lowbrow humor, that's disgusting, to get a rise out of people.
Cheap heat.
But is this really the worst thing that's ever happened in wrestling?
No. Especially when all of the racist tomes and racist elements, that's fine.
Yeah.
But now a woman does something, women are held to such a different standard. And you know what? I don't like lowbrow humor I don't want to see the guy with the lollipop in his ass, and I don't want to see the tampon. But to suddenly cry foul.
Come on.
Because a woman is going to give as good as she gets.
What are we doing here?
Like, I'm not arguing on the merit of whether I think it's disgusting or not. I'm just, I'm saying.
But it's not the worst thing we've ever seen.
It's bullshit. Yeah. Because women are an easy target, especially for the male meathead wrestling fan. Hyper scrutiny. She's not good looking enough. You're not gonna have a guy say, well, Roman Reigns, fantastic wrestler, not good looking enough.
Yeah.
To be a wrestler.
Yeah. True. It's true.
You're probably not gonna have a woman say that either.
True.
So to have this double standard, like a disgusting wrestling move is just, it is what it is.
No matter who does it. Sure.
Right.
Sure.
But to say that she is somehow responsible for her whole gender.
Yeah. In the business.
So do I get to say because Vince McMahon did racist caricatures as wrestling gimmicks that all white people are racist? That all men? He set back humanity? Get the hell out of here.
You got guys in Mississippi saying that this is going to affect their ability to book venues for their little indie shows. Something in an indie promotion that they can't even name, right? That happened in California is going to affect their ability to book venues because people are going to say, well, I'm not going to invest in wrestling because that happened somewhere else. Really?
If that's the reason you're investing or not investing in wrestling, you're in the wrong effing business.
Give me a break. Give me a break. All of you. All of you.
It's ridiculous.
I had one of the, and listen, I'm gonna name names because I don't give a damn.
There's just been a lot of stupid gimmicks in wrestling, though. Why this?
But I'm gonna name names for a second.
Wait a minute. The women not wrestling in Saudi Arabia?
Yeah, that didn't set anything back, but this did.
Right.
Right.
Right. So we can oppress them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's not setting things back.
Yeah.
But she wants to get some cheap heat, and she's willing to do a stupid move.
Sure. Have at it. There's a legend. Great referee by the name of Marty Elias. He was in the WWE for years. I think he was in the wrestling business at least for 30 years, almost as long as I've been alive. He literally, I saw a comment he made, and I responded to it because he was saying how this set women back, 10 years of women being built up, and this just set everything back. And I told him that was a line of crap.
Right. He
proceeds to go off on me online. About how I'm just looking for my 15 minutes of fame because I disagree with him. No, bozo. I disagree with you because you're not making any damn sense. You sat there and you watched wrestlers pound each other's heads in, all these CTE issues and things of that nature. Yeah. You sat there and watched Vince McMahon make his employees kiss his ass. You watched Mae Young give birth to a hand. You watched Triple H simulating making love to a damn corpse. Huh? And you getting mad at me because I'm telling you that no, this didn't set the business back. No, buddy, I'm not looking for 15 minutes of anything. And if I'm looking for 15 minutes of fame, you're not the guy to get it off of. Just so we're being clear here, I don't give a damn. And I'm not looking for a job with the WWE. I don't care. So I'm going to tell you, Marty Elias and everybody else. Jim Cornette, I'm going to tell you all. You're full of crap. It's time for the sexism to stop.
Yep.
Okay? That's what I'm going to say to you. And yeah, I'm going to use that word, and yeah, I'm putting you on the spot. It's time for the sexism to start. You guys want to sit there and maintain the status quo, but you're okay with the racism and the bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
Made me swear.
Well.
But this young lady's setting the business back after all the crap that Jim Cornette, Smoky Mountain Wrestling with all the racism and the blood and the nonsense, this is setting the business back? You know what this guy's favorite joke is? He's setting up a halfway house for girls who don't want to go all the way.
Wow.
And first that guy's talking about who's setting business back?
That's worse than one of your jokes, first of all.
Give me a break.
And secondly, yeah, exactly.
That's Jim Cornette, folks, by the way. It's time to stop the crap, okay? I don't know Priscilla Kelly. I've seen her wrestle. She's all right. And I'm sure she has a bright future in the business. But she's not killing anything. Period. And if we could sit there and let WWE do the crap that they do all the time, the business is still going, then by God, I don't give a damn what she just did in that stupid bar.
I don't often say this, but that was pretty well said.
There's nothing more to be said.
Well, I think you're right.
This is Charlie, the Prince of Pain, reminding you that if you do in fact turn off the Duke Loves Wrestling podcast, then you will most